our next contestant, Brian David Crawford. Becoming an uncle. Becoming an uncle, Brian David Crawford.
Ten years ago, my nephew Peter was born. As I held Peter in my arms, I realized something. I wanted Peter to have the kind of uncle that he could look up to, someone he could be inspired by. At the time, I was a community college dropout, living in my mother's basement, working at Liberty Tax. You know, I'm the guy out front dancing, trying to get you to come on into Liberty Tax. My life was a big fat joke, and I took nothing seriously at all. I knew what I had to do to give Peter the kind of uncle that he really deserved. I had to lie. So I held him up and I said, Peter, I'm your Uncle Brian, and I invented the internet. Initially, my lies were about everything and anything. I'd say wild things like, I was the Gerber baby. But as Peter got a little older and could comprehend the lies I had been telling him, I'd come up with things that he couldn't easily disprove. We're driving along the freeway and I hear from the back seat, Uncle Brian, what are those big yellow boxes on the side of the road? Well, Peter, that's called emergency roadside telephone, and I invented it. Really, Uncle Brian, how'd you do that? Well, Peter, it was 1972 and I was hiking through the Andes Mountains. I came across a plane that crashed, filled with rugby players from Uruguay. They were starving and had resorted to cannibalism. I had yet to come up with a triangulation algorithm that would allow cell phones to be invented, so there was no way to call for help. Instead, I had to push their plane 200 miles down the mountainside the nearest village. When I got there, I realized something. If only there was a phone every quarter mile or so along every road in America, disasters like this could be easily avoided. So I called up my good friend, the President of the United States. I told him my idea, and he gave me the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Wow, can I see it? Peter, I would love to show it to you, but it's at the dry cleaners. We're at a baseball game, and the crowd starts doing the wave. Peter says, Uncle Brian, what are we doing? Well, Peter, this is called the wave, and I invented it. Really, Uncle Brian, how'd you do that? Well, Peter, it was 1947, and I was in Roswell, New Mexico, with my good friend, the Prime Minister of Japan. We were attending a baseball game, and we had just put melted cheese on top of tortilla chips, and thus inventing the nacho. Off in the outfield, there was some lights flashing. The guy says next to me, you know, that might be a UFO. I said, sir, I assure you, the government knows nothing about UFOs. And we all were kind of confused what it might be, so we all stood up to look out. What could this be? Lights disappeared, we all just kind of sat there. During all this, the home team turned an unassisted triple play. And it dawned on me, the act of everyone standing up and then sitting down caused a wave of energy that gave the hometown an advantage. So I realized what I had to do. I ran to one side of the stadium, I said, everybody please, on three, jump up in the air. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And I ran back and forth across the stadium trying to get people to stand up over and over again. And the home team scored 28 runs to win the game. News of this Roswell incident spread throughout the country. And pretty soon the New York Yankees asked if I could play third base for them in the World Series. Wow, the World Series, what was that like? Well, Peter, I was flattered by their offer. But I was going to the World Conference in Heroism and was unavailable. Most recently, my son Sam was born. Peter's father, my brother, was very excited about it. This would give us something to bond over. Fatherhood is something that many brothers really enjoy. I could ask him for advice, and he could give it to me. So when he came to the hospital, I was busy hoisting my son above my head bouncing it around. My brother came to the room and said, Brian, what the hell are you doing? I was like, well, I'm just doing the Lion King. It's like, that's not how you hold a baby. I said, oh, I'm sorry. And so I handed him on over. He gave me that kind of look that only an older brother could give. He says, Sam, you already know your mother. You know your father. You see that box over there? The one with the flickering lights? It's called television. I'm your Uncle Ken, and I invented it.